You're listening to The Megan Werner Show on brandlive.co.za. To book Megan, go to www.meganwerner.co.za now.
Hello and welcome to the Megan Werner Show. So today I've got the honor to have Heather Hook and Des Werner in studio. So welcome, guys.
Hello, thank you.
Hello.
So we're actually interviewing Heather. Dad is just being part of the conversation.
I'm sitting here because I want to learn about social media. That's actually why I'm here.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, I'm in the hot seat now.
Heather's the guru.
Oh, well, I like to think so, but we'll see.
Okay, well, Heather, please tell us more about yourself.
Okay, I initially started in this industry, well, actually quite by accident. I used to have an events management company that I ran for probably about 6 years, and eventually the events industry started taking a little bit of a knock, and I was like, well, what else can I do? I love social media, so let me get into that. So it grew from there. I started practicing on my own brand, so growing my Heather Hook brand, and I had a lot of fun with it. And eventually people started contacting me and saying, well, can you do this for my brand? And then companies started contacting me and saying, can you do this for us? And I was like, sure, okay. So I've learned a lot as I've gone along, but it's been a fun experience, and I'm lucky enough to work with some of the top publications and companies in Joburg and run their social media, which is a huge, experience, and I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Wow, that's very cool.
Well, I know you've helped out with Megan's brand, which has gone from 0 to hero, I think.
Oh, no, I don't think it was ever 0. But
Well, it's grown quite quickly. So, yeah, I can definitely vouch for that. But I'm sure it's a lot of work, eh? I mean...
It is. It's time consuming, and there are tools and stuff that you can use to make it easier, but I don't believe in cross posting. In other words, putting it on one platform and then sharing it to Facebook, to Twitter, to Instagram. I craft each post individually and I release them at different times for different engagements, because every social media platform works in a different way at a different time. 160 characters for Twitter might not work on Facebook. You might not be able to get your message across, whereas people prefer a different message on Facebook. So even though I'm putting the same thing across 3 platforms, I'm crafting each post individually, so it does take time, and maybe that's just my way of doing it, and I feel that it creates more engagement. I have more fun with it. So, but yes, time consuming it is.
Okay, so then, seeing that it is so time consuming, sorry, how do you manage running all this social media, all the different things? So
obviously there's some tools that I use. Some of them are free. One of them is called Hootsuite, like Hoot like an owl, and then SUITE. It's a free tool. I think you can manage up to 4 different accounts on that, and that I use a lot for Twitter. So that's great. You can pre-schedule stuff. You can decide the day that you want it to go out, the time that you want it to go out. You can add attachments. It's fantastic. The only thing that you can't do on that is tag people in the photograph. But if you're a corporate company, you're not going to be tagging all your buddies, so it's perfect. You can just schedule it to go out at whatever time during the day you want. Instagram, I use a software called Later. It's probably about 400 Rand a month, but you can again run multiple accounts. So my accounts, my clients' accounts, etc. You can create everything online on your computer. It's linked to an app on your phone. It just pops up and reminds you you've got a post. You click post, paste the little blurb that you've already written, and off you go. So there are a variety of platforms and softwares that you can use, and they don't have to cost the earth. As well. So that does help a lot. So for example, if you're on holiday and you're lying on the beach in Mozambique, which I will be in April, stuff will still be going out. So there's still movement, there's still traction, etc. obviously, but that personal interaction isn't there. So you physically need to actually go into the account and interact with people and comment on things and share things, and that's where the personal side of it comes in.
But I think you go to Mozambique way too often.
Only once a year, Des. It's my only holiday. Come on.
Every time I see Heather, Mozambique.
I'm scheduling stuff to send out later, so people think I'm always there. But no, it is great if you're super busy, or like we were discussing earlier, Megan, if you've got a full-time job, or you're at school and you've got homework, there are ways to sort of get around that. So at least there is stuff still going out. It is just minus the personal interaction.
Okay, and then what would you say is the difference between your personal account and a company account?
So obviously, I mean, if you're running a brand, say for example, one of my clients is a record company, I'm a little bit more reserved in what I post. I still have fun, but I hold back a little bit on what I post, because you're still a company, you're still a brand, you still have a certain, corporate identity that you need to adhere to and a way of speaking to people. Whereas a personal account is way more fun. So, for example, when I started running your account, I actually had to think you were 13 at the time, I had to think like a 13-year-old girl, and I have to comment like a 13-year-old girl and say things that a 13-year-old girl would say. Now you're up to speed, you can do it yourself. But in the beginning, that was quite a learning curve for me. So, and my personal brand is always fun. I make jokes, etc. But obviously, you need to think at the end of the day, what are you trying to grow for yourself? So if you're saying, okay, cool, I'm a media personality, great, but then you wouldn't be posting pictures of things that are irrelevant to that. So I love food, I love eating out, I love theatre, so I'll post those sort of things, but I wouldn't post maybe like, my dog or something that's really not sort of relevant to that. And then obviously stay away from the obvious red flags, which are your things like politics, religion, racism, all that kind of stuff. And, people get into fights and stuff on Twitter, which is really not good for anybody's brand ever. And the damage control after that is just epic.
Yeah. But now I've got a question now. Is traditional, normal print media, is that dead or is there still a space for that?
I don't know. There's two schools of thoughts. I was actually in a meeting with a client on Saturday and somebody brought it up that, print media is going out, and obviously the owner of the magazine was like, no, definitely not. There's two schools of thought. I mean, you walk into CNA, there's tons of glossy magazines out there, but I know a lot of smaller publications are starting to close eventually. Everybody's on their phone. These days, everyone's reading stuff on their iPad. You don't need to buy a book anymore. You can download it. But let's be honest, the feel of a book and the feel of a magazine in your hands, that's something, just marking those pages, highlighting things, that's something you can't take away. So I don't think it will ever die, but it will eventually become, we get all our news online.
But I mean, just the costs of advertising online compared to print media, I don't think you can compare it.
You can't. And I mean, I do believe, obviously because it's what I do believe that online is the way of the future, but I don't think that prints, that smell of a new book, that feeling lying under a tree reading a book, it's just not the same on an iPad. So I don't think it will ever die completely, but social media is definitely on the rise. And I do believe that every body or every company that's in a social sphere needs to at least have a social presence.
What I enjoy is it's instant. It's instantaneous. You put it out now and you start getting likes and replies immediately.
You get interactions immediately. And the same with when you post something you shouldn't. You can delete it, but it's never gone. And somebody's seen it, and that's how. So just being careful, I think, on social media is important as well.
And then what would you say are the dangers of social media?
Well, again, obviously, you're making your life public. I'm now talking as a personal brand, you're making your life public, you're putting yourself out there, you're tagging yourself in places. I mean, I've had people message me, I see you're here. And I'm like, whoa, that's a little creepy. So now I don't do that anymore. I just say, I'm looking forward to XYZ tonight, or I only start posting once we're halfway into it, or whatever. Just because there's crazy people out there, I promise you, and they watch everything that you do. They comment on everything. They message you, So that's one of the dangers. So if you are saying, I want to be in the spotlight, I want to be a media personality, be aware that you are going to be followed. That's what you're asking for. That's what you're putting out there. You will be followed. So be careful of what you post and what you do, because people are watching you and commenting.
It's quite scary what Facebook's actually got, the information they've got on you. That's like really scary.
They've got everything. I mean, I went to one of these courses where they show you, I mean, they can pull literally everything, bar like a DNA sample and, like a blood test. They can pinpoint exactly where you are. They can see where you're moving, where you're driving to, where you're spending time, what websites you're going onto. I mean, it's insane. They literally... Yeah, it's very scary if you think about it.
But then from a marketer's point of view, it's quite exciting.
Yes, exactly.
You've got all the information.
You can target market. So, if you're promoting an ad or whatever, you can select your market, the age, or their interests, that sort of stuff. It's very cool.
Dad, the other day you told me in the car something about Facebook, that they can even see the type of phone that you have.
Yeah. You can market to certain amounts of phones, a certain phone. So you can see, okay, this guy's got an iPhone 6 or whatever it is, and you can market him. So to be able to market to them, you must know that he's got that phone.
So when you, for example, if you have a company page and you're sponsoring or boosting posts, you're selecting who you want to target. So I can say I want to select girls between the age of 18 and 21 who use XYZ phone, who live in this area, whose hobbies are this. who go to XYZ places, and it can actually pull all that information. So, I mean, often I'll get on my personal Facebook page, I'll get a lot of bridal stuff and dating sites, because apparently they can see that I'm single and it's time to march down the aisle, and I'm getting that constantly. It's popping up on the side of my feed. So I'm obviously being targeted specifically with those adverts.
But that, as I said, it's both exciting and a little bit depressing, because they kind of know what you're doing, but it's also exciting from a marketing point of view,
Yeah.
I think. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also think that you won't be able to always stop it. Like, if you don't have Facebook, etc., then maybe they can't see it. But as you said, the future is social media. So some other time you are going to get that. So you will just have to be able to know how to use it.
I think it's just being aware. So just being aware of what you're putting out there. And I think especially for parents to teach their kids what goes on out there. And, sometimes it is a little bit scary, and you don't want to maybe expose your kids to the big bad world out there. But unfortunately, this is the era that we live in. And you're going to say to your kids, listen, social media, this is what happens. And you're going to have to go into the good, the bad, and the ugly of it, because nothing is private on the internet, nothing at all. So, yeah.
But I think as long as they know those dangers, it's fine. I mean, something you've got to deal with. You can't hide away from it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely part of life.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick ad and we'll be back.
Megan Verne is South Africa's dynamic young speaker who shows her skills in areas of assisting attendees to realize their potential through showing them what is possible if you believe in yourself and take charge of your destiny. No matter the age or size of her audience, from 5 to 5,000 people, Megan touches a chord with her honest outlook and natural frankness. She has spoken to corporate staff meetings to lift team morale. Trainers use Megan within their sessions to add another dimension to their presentations, and her talks take people out of their comfort zones and encourage them to look at the way they approach their lives and work relationships differently. Megan is often sponsored by corporates to speak at schools around the country as part of their CSI initiatives. Visit www.meganverner.co.za now.
Okay, so welcome back to the Megan Werner Show. In studio, we've got Heather Hook, social media bother. So Heather, we just spoke about the younger people getting social media and the dangers about social media. But would you say that the older generation should also get social media?
I think so. I mean, my parents are in their 80s and they don't have a clue what I do. They understand, they know what Facebook looks like, but they actually don't understand what it actually does. And every time I visit, they're like, could you just please get off your phone? And I'm like, it's my job. But they don't really get that. So, but I mean, I think there's a lot of cool 40, 50 and 60-year-olds that are quite like up to the times, who enjoy, being engaged. I mean, I'm almost 40. I have an absolute blast with it. I think it's amazing. So yes, definitely. And I think a lot of parents sometimes get it to maybe spy on their kids to see what they're up to or whatever. But I mean, it is a good way to stay engaged, and especially if you've got like family and friends and stuff that live overseas. And just, my parents, live in Knysna. My sisters live overseas. I don't see them often, so it's lovely to see their holiday pics and, just feel like I'm still sort of a part of their lives, even though we're like thousands of Ks apart. So maybe from that aspect. But then I always say, if you have a company who are a corporate, you do need some sort of a profile on social media. It is the way of the future. So be it a Facebook page with a couple of thousand likes or a Twitter account that's just showing some constant activity, it's the first thing I look at when somebody maybe has started up a small company and they're like, oh, please go check out my thing. That's the first thing I check. I check how active they are on social media. I see what they're doing, and like I mentioned to you earlier, Megan, as well, if I'm employing staff or whatever, the first thing I do is I go and look at their social media accounts. If their Facebook feed is them drunk every second night and out at a party, I'm most likely not going to employ that person, because they're probably going to have a hangover every morning, and that's not the kind of person I want in my company or that I want to work with. So, and I know a lot of potential employers do that as well. So, there are a lot of older generation that are on social media, and I think it's a fun and good tool if used appropriately, as I said.
And what would you say is your favorite social media app?
It was Twitter. I mean, it was Facebook. Now it's Twitter. I'm loving Twitter at the moment. But apparently Twitter is to be taken over by Instagram within the next 2 years. So I'm working quite hard on building my Instagram following. I have fun with Twitter because it's so quick and so easy. And you can just get a message across in 25 seconds, whereas Instagram and Facebook takes a little bit more thought and a little bit more like sort of construction of the post and the message that you're putting out there. Twitter's quite fun. I also like to trend on Twitter, so if there's an event and I'm there and I'm tweeting about it, it's kind of like it's immeasurable for me to see, oh, look, we're training at number 5 in South Africa or whatever. Like, I like that challenge. That's just me, so I have fun with that. But, Twitter definitely is my current.
But that's going to be quite interesting because Instagram is now owned by Facebook. So if Twitter's also involved there, that's why.
Well, yeah, so apparently Twitter is on the way out. I don't know how true it is. I mean, again, like you said, print media, is it out? Will it ever go away? Who knows? But the estimate is that, yes, Twitter will eventually die, like Facebook sort of did, I guess.
Yeah, like we had all these apps like Mixit and BBM, and then WhatsApp came along, and then, like when we had BBM, we were like, oh, this is so cool, it will never go out, and then everything does get better. So
it evolves. But
yes.
So companies merge, stuff evolves. But I mean, now we're saying, okay, call Snapchat. Oh, yeah. Everybody's like, Heather, you must be on Snapchat. I was like, I don't understand this. I don't want to do it. And then Instagram brought out stories and videos, and now there's no longer really a need for Snapchat, although they do have very cool filters. I will
yes.
So there's no, so stuff sort of combines, and the bigger companies will find a way of taking over the smaller ones and incorporating the stuff and making themselves the, sort of like the top.
Yeah, but I mean, the moment that Instagram gets those filters from Snapchat, it will just be like Instagram all the way.
Exactly.
What are the things, I know there are different types of things that you post for corporates and then also your personal thing. I know you said you like posting food things and things. So what would you advise someone who's new with social media to post?
Okay, so obviously if you're corporate and you're selling a product, that would be your key focus. So let's say, for example, Samsung phones or whatever, they would promote new products that are coming out, new accessories, maybe do prizes. People love prizes. That drives traffic greatly. So giving away free stuff, and also just being engaging. You don't always want to sell. You need to have fun and always interact with your followers and with your fans, because I remember when I first started and somebody with like 5,000 followers retweeted me, I almost died. It was like the most exciting thing ever. So I know that feeling. So just engage. And then from a personal level, I guess just post what interests you. So like I said, I love food, I love eating out, I love theatre, I love beautiful things, blah, blah, blah. But I would not go and post about cars or a motor show or a tractor show or something farming related, because my followers and my fans they're not interested in that.
Yeah.
And I don't know about it. So, yeah.
So people that are listening, if they want to build a brand quickly, how quickly could you do that? If it's a new company and they said, okay, Heather, we've got unlimited budget, how quickly can you get a return?
Budget. Who is this client? And where do I find them?
I can't tell you.
You can. You can. It can be done. And a lot of people will contact me and say, okay, listen, we need to kick and we need to kick big. You've got a month. Do it, and then we go, and as however much money they're prepared to throw at it, it can be done. Sorry, it can be happen. My English is going, must be the cold. So yeah, I mean, you can obviously, there's ways of boosting posts, purchasing likes, etc. I don't prescribe to buying fake of anything. Fake followers on Instagram, fake followers on Twitter. Eventually you will be found out, because you can see by the interaction rates. So some of these people have 20,000 Instagram followers, but they're getting very minimal likes on their posts because they're obviously not they're obviously not real. So, I mean, I believe in doing it ethically, and obviously you don't want to grow too fast, because then it's kind of obvious what you're doing. So you can put a campaign together, I would say, over 3 months, that you could grow a good solid base and get some good content out there. Yeah. Definitely. But always remember, and I mean, clients are like, I want to see sales from Facebook. I'm like, I can never promise you that. I can promise you that the content will be interesting and will drive people to your site. What happens on your site is what will convince them to sell. Your pricing, your engagement on your site, the way your site's designed, how easy it is to use. And sometimes they'll say to me, okay, we don't even have a site, or can you help us? And I'll be like, yes, of course. Then obviously, I mean, I'm not a web design guru, but I bring in my designer and my developer, and we create an entire package that everything flows and works together smoothly.
And do you think that social media affects your reputation?
It can, yes. And that's why I say always be careful of what you're posting. We've all, in moments of anger, posted something or said something. When you say it out loud, can sort of apologies can be made, but when it's written and sent out into the universe, it's a little bit harder to retract it. So if you are angry, try to stay away from posting. I also say to some of my clients, if you've been drinking, don't post, because you can sometimes, what you think might be funny or might be whatever might actually not be. So that's something for maybe older people to stay away from. And just being cognizant and think it through before you hit send or tweet or whatever. Just think it through. Does it read correctly? Are there spelling errors? Just make sure that your message is part of your brand.
Okay, and then like lots of children see that Instagram and Facebook are the new in things. What age would you recommend someone to get social media?
I mean, I know you can get a Facebook account, I think, from when you're like 13 or something. Personally, I think it's too young. That's just me. No matter how savvy your kids are and aware, I would say 16 and above, maybe. And once you've sat down and explained to them, so that, I mean, that would be a benefit as to why the older generation would need to know how these things work, because you've got to explain to your kids, setting privacy settings. So, there's creepy people out there that send creepy messages, and I get a fright sometimes, and I'm almost 40, so I can imagine being 13 and seeing something you really don't want to see, So, I mean, just briefing your kids and just helping them set it up and getting them aware of what to do and what not to do, I think is extremely important.
I don't think everybody realizes the dangers of social media, because you're actually bringing that guy into wherever you are, into your home or into your school, or where, and he's got access to.
Yeah, and you get weird people who say weird things, or they get a kick out of, saying weird things or sending weird pictures, or often sometimes you get catfish as well. There's people that are sort of trawling the internet looking for, I don't know what they're looking for, money or whatever they're looking for. You always hear these horror stories about these women that like meet these men online, and then all of a sudden they've given them all their life savings and they've like disappeared. And personally, I'm like, what were you thinking? But there are people, that's what they do. They go out there and they
you remember that incident where actually they posed the CNA and they phoned me and they wanted to buy a whole lot of Megan's books. Yeah,
exactly.
Same story.
It was a hoax, and there's people out there trying to scam all the time,
Scary stuff.
Scary stuff.
Okay, and then another thing that people don't know, especially the children, is that they can actually, when your location is on and you're taking a photo and then you post it on Instagram, say for example you take one in front of your house and then you say lovely selfie in front of my house, and you forget your location on, and then you post that photo, they will be able to see where your house is, and then they will be able to go to your house. So I think that's very creepy. Definitely. From social media.
And I always say to people, never tag in at your house. If I'm at home, I just tag in the vicinity or whatever if I feel I need to do that. But generally I won't. And I like I said, also sometimes when I'm at events, I don't post where I am until later in the evening, because there are weird, there's weird people out there. But it's also fun. I mean, like we're focusing on some of the negative stuff now, but I mean, social media is fun and you can have fun with it and play with it and grow your brand and experiment. Just be savvy, I guess. Yeah.
And then if children want to get Instagram or Facebook or something, and their parents don't want them to, what advice can you give the parents if they want their children? If their children, want social media.
I mean, remember, kids are always going to do what you tell them not to do. I'm looking at Des here. Kids are always going to do what you tell them not to do, and all their friends are doing it. I mean, I know, smoking at 16. My parents were like, don't smoke, but all my friends were smoking, so what did I do? Of course I went out and did it. Peer pressure.
That sounds a bit like Megan, like they're just not the
what?
smoking.
No, not smoking.
I'm using that as an example. So that was me at 16, and even though my parents said don't do it, I still went and did it anyway, and then I realized it was kind of gross. But the point is, you're going to go and do it anyway. So I think maybe just, if your kid comes to you and says they want to do this, say to them, I'm not happy about it, but let us sit down as a family and have a discussion and figure out, because they've all got phones. 6-year-old kids have got phones. They're all going to play on it. So, or they're going to look at what their friends are doing. They're going to, I mean, I think of all the secretive stuff I did as a teenager. I mean, it's a little bit scary. I'm surprised I'm still here to tell the story. But,
luckily, luckily you didn't have social media by then.
No, exactly.
But if someone would want to contact you, how would they get hold of you?
Okay, so you are welcome to head through to my website /blog, heatherhook.com. You can also get me on Twitter. My handle is Heather L. Hook, and the same for Facebook, so facebook.com/Heather L. Hook. And I'm on Instagram, Heather Louise Hook, so give us a follow, get engaged, and then obviously follow the lovely Megan as well.
on the Megan Werner or at the Megan Werner. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So, and then your webpage is again www.heatherhook, spelled HEATHER, hook, HOOK.com.
Yeah, that's the one.
Cool. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next month.
Next Tuesday, first
Yeah.
Tuesday of every month.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Thanks
Have
for
a great
having us.
month.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks, Fred.
You have been listening to The Megan Werner Show on brandlive.co.za. Catch her again on the first Tuesday of every month. www.meganwerner.co.za.